Welcome back to the Vet S.O.S podcast, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S Lifeline. So happy you're joining us today. We got a great show. Mark, very excited about this guest. This is an amazing program that Brace McCoy has running. I can't wait to learn more about this. I think this is one of those things that is almost a game changer for our community, especially when it comes to the job search piece and everything. So we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm here with my partner, Mark. As always, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sean. Thanks for asking. Super excited to hear from Brace as well. I already know what he's going to be talking about. So, man, I can't wait. And you guys, viewer audience, make sure that you're tuning in and taking some notes because you don't want to miss this episode. And also, pay it forward. Make sure that you're paying it forward and sharing this information with your community.
As always, we're on the Restream platform, so please hit us up with hashtag pairing. If you don't know how to pair your channels with us, we'll tell you how to do it. It's very simple. You push this out as original content over your social media and help spread the word even more to your audience. So not only, Mark, do we have a great guest, okay, with a great idea that he's talking about, but this is also episode number 50. Can you believe it? We're halfway to 100 already. Man. Episode 50. Very excited about that. We've had a great run so far. Some amazing people have come on the show, and it's just been fantastic. So, Brace, very excited you're here today. We're going to tell people a little bit about you, and then we're going to get right into it. So we got Brace, who was raised an Army brat around the world in the 1970s and went to West Point in 1983. After West Point, he graduated from Ranger and Airborne schools and spent 11 years as a cavalry officer. Since leaving the Army in 98, he has founded and run businesses in the financial, defense, and consumer firearm markets. Finally, Brace is the author of the book Ranger School, No Excuse Leadership, and the director of the Veteran Email Program. Brace, how you doing today?
I'm doing great this morning, Sean. Thank you. How are you guys?
Very good. Very good. Very excited to have you come on here. I first heard about your program during a Vets Industry event, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit more about you aside from your intro here. What made you get into doing something that's going to help the veteran community? What was that driving force behind that?
Like everything, there's a story. So I was raised an Army brat. I mean, literally, I was in the Army all the way until I left from 1965 to 1998, either as a dependent or active duty. And so, and you guys know when you serve, and most of us are just young men, that just that lays the foundation for our futures. How do we behave? What are our expectations? What community are we familiar with, right? And we could interact in the veteran community, in the defense industry. We speak the same language, and it's just there's a comfort level there, and it always has been. Even as long as I've been a civilian now, I still love it. West Point, Ranger School, the things I did as an officer. That's kind of the core of who I am. And I say that, granted, as a Christian, I follow Jesus Christ first. And that's been the key to, frankly, my maturity through the decades, and just having the desire to serve as well. The story behind the Veterans Email Program is a couple of years ago now, maybe a year and a half ago, as we were coming along into the holidays, and we all have our breaks, and what I've always done is pick up some kind of a project or a book or something I'm learning. And I was praying about, what do I do? And I couldn't even draw a line to how the thought came to me. But ultimately, I ended up with this idea for the email accounts. And the first thing I did was I searched out the domains. Okay, so we got the .vet. But was U.S. Army available, or U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force? Turns out all of the key branch domains were available. And I'm talking U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Coast Guard. I had to, for Space Force, I ended up getting the force.vet and then added the Space Force ahead of it. But all of the major services are available with the .vet extension. And this idea just grew into, okay, well, how do we serve the community? What's really the benefit? And it did. But by the way, so the answer to my prayer was I got really busy during that holiday vacation and just energized about it. So I'm excited about where it's come so far.
That's amazing story, and I definitely appreciate that. But especially the praying and searching for what you're going to do next and get into that project. That's powerful. I have a question because I too am a military brat. With about a couple year break where my dad was retired, I was in college, and then I joined the military a little bit later. But essentially my entire life I've moved every 3 years or so, much like I'm sure you did.
I did.
So as I'm retiring here, does the need to move at the 3 year mark, does that kick in, or am I going to be able to settle into actually being retired? This is a personal question.
Well,
nothing to do with the interview.
Okay, so yeah, so we the same background, right? Every 3 years you get this itching, and you love your community, but it's like, oh, it's time to go. You're either going to do that and you're going to move, or you're going to have you're going to force some major life change at somewhere around that point. And typically, like what you're doing now as an entrepreneur, as creating content, there'll probably be something where you'll have an idea that'll start popping up, at some point along the way. And then at the 3 and 4 year point, you're going to go, okay, it's time to start doing that, start doing something new, something that you haven't done before. And that will probably replace your need to pull up chalks and go.
So you're telling me I'm going to have my midlife crisis in about 3 years? Buy a motorcycle, tour the country.
Multiple midlife crisis. How about that?
Okay, outstanding. So fantastic journey. This veterans email program. First of all, I'm amazed that the domains were available. Sounds to me like somebody was sleeping on the job there. But why did you want to create this? What was that need that you felt that we needed to have this program before we get into how it works, what specifically it is?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was kind of led to it. I can't say I started out with a brilliant idea and then went from there, or I didn't start out with the end in mind. But as I saw this and as it just became available, all of a sudden, then the benefits of identifying as a veteran jumped out, and we could set ourselves up as an email provider with that USArmy.vet or US Air Force.vet, and compare that to the Gmail or the Yahoo or the Outlook. It doesn't matter. We're all so used to the free emails that we don't recognize the kind of the damage that it does, or the opportunity that exists with an affinity email like the veteran email program, where you can basically in a very tactful way identify yourself as a veteran. And we all know, because of that foundation, right? We were all young, we're all 18, 19, 20 years old, and we're serving. It becomes part of us. Now, when you put that in your email address, and that's how you format your email address, when I send a note to another veteran, they take notice. We're trying to connect, right? In this internet age, we're trying to connect with other people. It's what LinkedIn is all about. And you could have thousands of connections, but frankly, if you don't have that right splash, that right message, and the veteran email is that splash where someone who's another Army veteran, or frankly, in my case, I don't care if someone was to write me with a veteran email or somehow identified immediately, I'm going to respond to that person. And that became really, besides this being a kind of a cool idea, really, I think, became a mission and necessary to get out to the veteran community because I think there's so many advantages to it.
I agree.
Yeah. So there's levels of differentiation, right? When you're in, let's say, for example, a transition, say it's active duty out to the civilian sector, and you're able to take advantage of a resource, right? Like the Veterans Email Program. I would say, aside from that, what are some other ways that you can, maybe leverage your initiative? Not just, sending out emails and having it be kind of like your tagline. But there's some other things that you can tie in with that, maybe craft that as part of your story, right? As you're engaging with potential employers.
No doubt, no doubt. I think one of the so this whole idea of creating the opportunity for connection, the email address by itself does that. And so everybody's email or resume, right, looks the same. And if you have your email address, even professional, and I see what the recruiters and the other service providers are counseling veterans to do, which is have a professional email address, john.smith@gmail.com or whatever it happens to be. And that's the right thing to do. Now replace that gmail.com with the veteran email, usarmy.vet, and that's right at the top of your resume. All of a sudden, your resume stands out. That then becomes for those, right? You're qualifying whoever's looking at it, the recruiter hey, they know who veterans are. They know how valuable they are in the workforce, and they see this .vet email address and they go, okay, let me set that one aside. That's what you want to do. You want to get into that small stack of follow-ups versus that big stack of, boy, that one, it's really a cool format, but there's nothing that sets it apart from anything else. And there's so many resumes going around. When you have that .vet email address at the top, you've communicated a lot in a small amount of time.
So the follow-up question on that, as you're using this resource, right? And what a great resource, first and foremost. But as you're using that in a transition space, I noticed, in the white paper that you had sent us that, it's unlimited storage. It doesn't seem like there's any time constraint to that. So have you seen the effective use of it to help you in your career once you get landed, right? Because you're going to be having ongoing, and if you get landed somewhere and you're working somewhere, you'll have your corporate email address, right? Or a company email address, I'm sure.
Yes.
But have you seen service members be able to continue to use that to help maybe further their career, propel themselves, maybe generate, if they're in a sales role, right? Generate
that's right.
Business.
Mark, that's a really good point. I think is a way, kind of a key point for veterans to understand is that you're in a sales role. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be an accountant, you can be, a machinist, but you're in a sales role for your career and for the other things that you want to pursue. So yes, this has been used, and even myself, with my corporate email address, when you send an email from a corporate email address, let's say it's whatever connection, it comes from LinkedIn, or you've done some research on a specific company you want to reach, and you send it with your US Air Force .vet address versus your company address, there's more of an opening because the receiver isn't looking at it as a sales attempt. It's more of a connection attempt, and then you can begin the conversation. So yes, there's definitely a place for it, even in the, if you're doing work on behalf of whatever company you work for.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity for you guys. I think, if you're listening or watching, folks, make sure that you're reaching out and signing up for this. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything, right? And make sure that you continue to use it. It's not just for transition, it's for life.
That's right. That's right.
this is one of those things to me that just seems like a no-brainer. Um, you have every extension. I'm looking at the list you sent. So USArmy.vet, USNavy.vet, etc. Everything's there. Your name's on there. It's professional looking. It's one of those little things just to make your resume a little different, to stand out a little bit, which is what we're all looking for. There's no cost to it. I also looked, you have upgraded unlimited storage now. You can send and receive and save as much email as you wish. So it's
That's
not
right.
one of those things where you're going to fill it up real quick during a job search. You actually have the space there, which is just amazing.
That's right.
So to me, this is one of those things that it's like too easy to do. So I'm hoping you have a ton of people already doing this and you're going to have a bunch more. But that gets into sort of the history of this. When did you launch this? And how many people do you have on your service now?
It's a good question. I think it finally launched probably this last summer.
Okay.
There's always the uh, going through that startup process, making sure the functionality is correct and things of that nature. You don't want to launch something, have tons of people sign up, and then you're fixing problems with that many people. So you go through the pilot program and things like that. So that's part of the startup mentality. We've got less than 1,000 people right now, Franklin. This is something that I do as a service, and so it doesn't have my full attention, right, for the marketing piece or the outreach piece. There's a lot going on, but it's a service that I will continue to provide, and keep the functionality there indefinitely, going into the future. So, but yeah, it's low cost. I think the only thing as far as the application process is some kind of a like a DD-214, and it can be made generic, meaning there's not necessary to have social security numbers or anything like that. But I've taken scanned photos of the ID card, or the military ID card. And again, scratch out any personally identifying or identifying information. I need the name and I need the branch, and then an official document. So that's the only thing that would, maybe slow things down for somebody, is gathering that up. But that's been very easy. And obviously, like other veterans, very serious about the stolen valor. If someone is trying to take advantage of this, and there are advantages obviously of being a veteran and identifying that way, is I will report that person. And I haven't had anybody yet, I think, because the documentation's so easy, and frankly I'm very clear about that. It's not something that we're gonna take lightly. But yeah,
How
fully functioning.
and it sounds like this is something that you are passionate about, obviously, and it's an initiative that it maybe you're doing this and funding it out of your own pocket as your give back, right?
Yes.
I don't know what the overhead may be, but I'm sure that there's probably some. I know, at least even for the domain registrations and renewals.
Sure.
Is there ways that you can get supported? Can people support you, financially or resource wise? Is there anything that you need?
Mark, I'm glad you asked that, and I would say, well, there are certainly ways, but no, it's not even something that I have put a functionality around. Not seeking donations, not asking for anything in return. I've had a couple people ping me and say, "Hey, what if we did this with the community?" And frankly, I haven't given that any thought. I think if there is something, as we go down the road and the community builds and we have the opportunity to either give things away or guide people towards, just really valuable services, then we might do that. But right now, no, it is as plain as, if you're a veteran, you have the right to a veteran email address, and come aboard. It's that simple, and it's fully functioning. There's no pay for add-ons or anything like that. it is absolutely, a high-end email service.
Okay. Well, yeah, if in the future, that becomes something that a need for you, like it scalability wise,
Sure.
right? If this picks up and just explodes, which we hope we're a part of that, helping that.
Okay.
Just reach out and let us know. I mean, we'd love to get the word out for support.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll have an ongoing relationship, guys. I've appreciated your support up to now and going forward.
And so Mark kind of alluded a little bit to the question I was thinking about as well, and that is, well, what kind of future plans are there? I mean, are you looking to expand upon this? For example, you mentioned Google before, not being a Google, but Google has all these additional things, calendars, drives, everything else that can be attached to your email. Is there any thought to that, or has that just become too much of an animal you have to manage, and then you become a full-blown company and lose
Right. That's right. No, that's a really good question. I think let me answer two parts to that. First of all, with your veteran email address, you can use that to pretty much access everything you're accessing now, with these different plugins and applications and things like that. So you can still use the email address that way. So the short answer is no. There's no contemplation of some bigger plan as far as the APIs or getting the apps put together and tied in. That would create costs. That would create a much larger time commitment, and I don't want to muddy the waters with a different agenda. Let me put it that way. So anytime you see a company doing promotions or something like that, there's an agenda behind it. And so with this, I don't have to have that agenda. It can be as simple as providing the service and benefiting the veteran community.
And what a testimony to your character, right? Yeah. To who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm amazed the more we talk and learn about this. It seems to me, like I said earlier, a no-brainer. This is something that is so easy to add to your resume to stand out. You talked a little bit about the process of getting an account. Can you walk us through what goes into getting an account? I mean, am I looking at an hour worth of work here? Am I looking at 2 minutes? I mean, what are we doing to get an account?
No, that's good. You're going to vmail.vet, and there's all it is. It's an application form with the ability to upload your veteran document. That then comes to me. I will verify your veteran status. The email account will be set up, and the email password, the ability to set the password, isn't held by me. You'll get an automatic email from the system that says, "Hey, your email is this," which is the username that you requested, and you have the ability then to go in, set up your password, put it onto any of the email applications that you use now. I think the application itself, we ask for, of course, full name and a good phone number, and also then your existing email address. And the existing email address is used so that the password setup can be, and the other instructions can be emailed to you directly. But it's, frankly, if you've got your document ready and that form takes you more than literally 60 seconds, something's going on. Your internet is slow.
Murphy come into play. So tracking that, you're not necessarily looking at trying to, become this big corporation and what have you. Have you looked or even had any conversation? I know this is a difficult task to overcome to begin with, but have you had any conversations with like the TAP program or anything like that about having this included in there? Because that's the first place they're going to tell you to have a professional email. It'd be a great tie-in, and they just sign up immediately when they're going through TAP. Have you attempted anything like that, or?
So really good question. Yes, I did attempt, they've got the email addresses directly. I sent out notes to quite a few of them, and I had a really good experience with my transition. I thought they were well done. They were caring. But in this instance, I've received almost no feedback. And frankly, I don't know why. It may have just been workload. I feel like everybody else, they're overloaded, but I would love to have some maybe there's personal contacts or referrals from people who are working in those programs, and then be connected with the decision makers there, where they can simply be aware. They in my case, this was whenever 1998, or they've got a bulletin board, and put something up on the bulletin board. It doesn't even matter, but just create awareness for the transitioning veterans.
Sad thing is we still have the bulletin boards. No, I agree with you. And from what I've gathered, and I understand, it is not an easy task to get involved in the TAP programs. And, there's MOUs that come into play with that some organizations have been able to do, but there's just so many veteran support organizations out there. I think it makes it difficult for them to manage that at that point. But if I have any influence with anybody, I'll definitely try, because I think this is one of those things that if you just do it as a TAP class, everybody's set up immediately from the very beginning. Like your very first TAP class, you create your Vmail account and you're good to go. And that's what you do all your resume and all your job search and transition stuff through. And
yeah,
seems too easy.
I agree with you. I think that's it could be huge. Just a huge benefit to the veteran, right? Just doing it right from the get go, and having that as part of your transition. I'll tell you what, this is going to be word of mouth. I'm not spending a budget on marketing, and I'm not advertising on the different platforms. And so, for you guys and for the listeners, just putting a note out on LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever the social media is, and saying, "Hey guys," and spreading the word to your fellow, the guys you served with. That's the kind of thing that this will need to really gain broader acceptance.
Absolutely. So we're coming down to the end of the episode here, Brace. So I'll give you the last word as far as, what would you like to leave the audience with?
This is for the audience. This is for you. This is, at no cost, being able to take advantage of the space that is used by your generic email right now, and use it as an identification to connect yourself with others, those who appreciate veterans, and those other veterans who look at your email address and go, I know that guy, not personally, but I know that guy. We've low crawled through the same mud. We've been on the helicopters with the doors open. We've, repelled out of the same places. We've flown missions across oceans, or whatever it happens to be. As veterans, this is my opinion. I think it's true. We are a special group. We are trained in a special mentality, and being able to connect together is powerful. And then also being able to use that status for those who understand in the hiring business, in the corporate business. We're special. We've got a special place out there, and we should identify ourselves.
I can't argue with that at all. I think you hit the nail on the head. Just absolutely amazing. Mark, you got any parting words?
No, I love it. I'm going to sign up for mine as soon as we get done with our shows. So I absolutely love it, and I think yes, what a great way to not only differentiate yourself, but also identify yourself to those veterans who are paying it forward.
That's right.
And I love your LinkedIn, love your testimony on LinkedIn, your faith and your beliefs on LinkedIn, as a follower of Christ. And so I love that. I just the whole thing, Brace. I just love it, what you're doing. I do want to make a special announcement. Episode 50, right? This is episode 50. So stay tuned, viewer and listener audience. Episode 52, our 1 year mark is coming up, and there's going to be a real special event and announcement. So make sure that you tune in for that too. I'll pass the mic.
Definitely.
So excited for episode 52, the 1 year anniversary. That's going to be huge. Hard to believe we've made it this far already. Brace, we want to thank you for coming on today and telling us about this great program. Thank you for being a part of our history here as episode number 50. For the audience, those of you transitioning, this is one of those things that makes total sense to me. This is something that takes very little effort, and it's going to help you stand out a little bit. And they're going to tell you anyway, get a new email address because you want a professional one. And I'll tell you from experience from transitioning, you want to have a brand new email address anyway, because you're going to have a ton of emails that are going to come from all these different organizations and programs you try out, job searching, whatever. Have a new email that starts clean, that you can do all this stuff. This is the way to do it. It's too easy. Let's make it happen, and it'll definitely make your life easier. As always, we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And remember, don't drown in the sea of transition, but grab the Vet S.O.S. Lifeline. Oh,